We're just going live into the Facebook group now. So welcome to everyone who's joining me live on Zoom, and also to the people. Great. And let me just add some more people in. That's great that you're joining me live. Thank you very much. This is going to be great. Good, good. How is everyone? Give me a thumbs up. Can you hear me okay? Good. Lovely to see you. Okay, so we're live streaming into my business page. I've got some questions already, but Emily and Brigitte, if you want to just put any questions into the chat box, I'm really happy to answer them, and we can also have a chat afterwards as well. That's a little bonus that you get for turning up live. Now, I've made some notes only because people were asking me and they couldn't attend today. So I wanted just to make some notes so I could answer their questions. So while I give you some time to think about your questions, and please, if you're joining me live, and you've got some questions, just write them in the comments and I'll come back and answer them. And if you're listening to this on replay, please put #replay. Okay, so the first question, which is pretty big, I'm just going to take a sip of my water, is, as the cost of living deepens, how can I convince my clients to buy my services, or to buy my services, or to see my services as essential? So what can I do? So the first thing that I want to tell you is I've had to deal with this issue for years, not just in, my corporate job, but also in my own business. So when we were in the corporate world, we had things like Black Monday. We had the crisis, obviously, when there was 9/11. We had the crisis then. We had the crash in 2008, 2009. So these things always happen. There's always going to be something like a market crash. We're just going to have someone else join us. So we're going to have these things like a market crash, or, we might be in recession, or, we've just come out of pandemic. And obviously, because we've come out of that pandemic, and also with things that are going on in Europe, we now find ourselves in this energy crisis. So the first thing is, don't panic. We just need to keep a level head. Because I remember when we had the pandemic, some people were actually saying, I'm not going to sell. And that was crazy, because they thought the pandemic would be over in a couple of weeks, and of course it wasn't. And of course they then had to change their mind. So what we need to remember is that whenever there is any type of financial crisis at all, a crash or anything like that, like a recession, we've got to remember that there will still be people out there buying. Now, there is a group of people who buy no matter what, and that's the uber rich. And my niece, her husband, started up his business in the pandemic. And in the first 2 years, he made 175 million. Now, he sells supercars, and he sells them to the super rich. And those people are not affected at all. So if you have a service that's going into that bracket of people, then you don't need to worry. For a lot of us, we're not selling into the uber rich, we're selling to normal people. So the first thing is, just don't panic, have a level head. The one thing you don't want to do is you don't want to stop marketing your services, because the research throughout the years have shown us that the companies and businesses who continue to market their offer during any type of crisis whatsoever, they are always the ones that come out on top, because they are the ones that people remember. But here's the thing that you need to know, is that some people will take longer to make a decision. That's the truth of it. So it doesn't matter what you're selling. People will still buy, but that decision-making process for them might take longer. The best thing for you to do is get really clear about who your core clients are. Spend more time with them, strengthening your relationship. So often what happens is when we go into this type of like crisis, what people try and do is get more clients. But actually, what we want to do is spend more time with our core clients. So try and get maybe some more one-to-ones with them so that you can talk to them. Send them notes through Facebook Messenger or LinkedIn or Twitter or whichever Instagram, whichever platform you're using. Start to really sort of like say to yourself, okay, I've got these 50 core clients that I think might want to work with me. I'm going to double down on my activity of strengthening those relationships. Hi, Susan, lovely to see you. Susan is a very good friend of mine. I'm so pleased that you're here, Susan. So just get really clear on strengthening those relationships. The next thing that you want to do is also really get clear about what their problems are, because remember, their problems may suddenly have changed. And often when I ask my clients, what are your clients' problems? They always talk about their problems in relation to their offer. But often that's not your clients' problems. What their problems are things like, how am I going to help my children? My children are having a tough time at school. That's what's on their mind. And you just need to understand that, because what you've got to figure out is how can what you do help them to alleviate those problems that they're facing. So for example, let me give you an example. We've got someone else joining us, which is lovely. So for everyone hi Raina, she's just coming through in a minute. For everyone who is joining us on the Zoom, and to get Zoom, you just need to be on my mailing list. We will then have a little chat afterwards where I'll answer your questions specifically. If you're watching on Facebook, then please just give me some thumbs up or some hearts. And if you have a question, just please put it into the chat. But for the people who are joining me live, you get an extra little bit at the end, which we don't record. So as I said, get really clear on what the problems are for your clients, because they may have changed. Find out what's keeping them up at night. And as I was saying, often it's not your problem. It's not your program or your offer. It's something else. But once you get under their skin and you really understand how they're thinking or what they're thinking about, how they're feeling, then you can start to weave that in to your offer. So, for example, a lot of my clients have teenage children who are at university or about to go to university. And teenage years can be pretty difficult. And of course, they're worried about how their mental health is going to deal with everything. So when I sell my services around sales, what I say to my clients is, when you've got more clients coming in and you've got more money flowing into your account, you can do more things that your family needs support and help with. I'm not saying you can then afford to buy some support for your teenage daughter or son who's going through some difficulty. I'd never dream of saying that. I just intimate it. I just say, look, you'll have more money to do this. And I let them join up the dots themselves. You want to demonstrate your expertise. So share case studies and testimonials. Do some interviews with your clients. If they're up for it. And I know Raina coaches children from the age of 12 upwards. So for some of your young clients, that may not be appropriate, but maybe the parent might agree to being interviewed. And that's what you want to do. You want to interview your clients. You want to get them on social media, because people can actually, one, ask questions. They can see how things affect people. They hear that in the tone of their voice, and they can also see it as well in their face. You may at this time need to review your offers, and you may need to bring something more to the forefront, and you may need to take something to the back. So I know, for example, Susan is running a vision board workshop in September. Now, I don't know about anyone, but I absolutely love attending vision board workshops, something that I'm going to be attending with Susan. So if you're in the area, Susan, I don't know if you just want to put in the chat box exactly where it is and I can read it out. But a vision board workshop is really great for thinking about your future, becoming really positive, getting very clear on your aims and what you want, because when you've got that clarity, you can start to go after it. And then you can start to say to yourself, well, how am I going to achieve that? And therefore, what you might need to do is say, okay, I'm going to bring something to the forefront. I'm going to really focus on selling that. And maybe I'm going to take something off for a while, so I won't be promoting that. Yes, Susan's just said Blackwells, which is 10 the Common, Chipperfield, near Kings Langley, if anybody lives out that way. I'm going to have to put that in my sat nav. But yes, I mean, again, that's a great thing to do for Susan, because Susan is a therapist, but she also knows that creating vision boards really help people to get real clarity around what they want in their life moving forward. So review your offers and ask yourself, do you need to bring something forward and maybe take something back? It's a little bit like farmers. You know, they've got land, but every year they give one segment of their land a rest and they don't actually grow anything on it. Okay, we've done that about bringing our offers. Speak to your existing clients and find out what they are thinking. Just ask them, you know, you've got some great clients that you're working with. Just have a question, have a conversation with them away from like your program. So if you're a coach, it's not one of your coaching sessions, it's an additional session that you're going to have. You're just checking in with them. And then you can ask them questions and it can become a bit of a fact-finding exercise for you. And they might also open up about some other things that you didn't realize, because in your coaching session, that's what you're focusing on. And even if you're selling products, have conversations with your clients. I have a client who sells Arbonne. She just needs to do that. Go back to her clients who regularly buy from her. Have a conversation with them. Find out, you know, what's coming up, because often people will buy small things as a way of celebrating their success. Let me just allow this person to come in. Put my notes here. And as I just said, anybody who wants to ask a question, hello, Kim, thank you for joining us. Anybody who wants to ask a question, just put it in chat. If you're on Zoom, we're live streaming this into Facebook. But once that's finished, if I have no questions in Facebook, then the people who are on Zoom, we will then do a session together, which won't be recorded. So you can ask your questions there. That's one of the benefits of being on my mailing list. And as I just talked about the benefits there, remember to keep talking about the benefits and most importantly, the deeper benefits. So what is the benefit I get from this product or this program? Which means that, answer that question to yourself. So I might say, for example, if somebody was doing one of my sales programs, I might say, You'll be able to sell more, get more clients, and that means that you will get more money in your bank account. Great. Which gives you the freedom to take your family on holiday, to update your car or whatever it might be. But always think, well, what are the deeper benefits there? And when we are in this sort of like, I'm calling it a crisis, we don't have to think of it as negative. We want to stay really positive. But this is the reality of it. As I said, people take longer to make a decision, but we also need to put in more effort, and it's around 20 to 30%. That's more effort. So what does that look like? Probably during a day, say of 7 hours, you're looking about spending an extra hour to an hour and a half. So ask yourself, what would you do with that hour or an hour and a half? Maybe, and I'm always telling my clients this, reach out to some people direct through Facebook Messenger or LinkedIn, email, or WhatsApp, and tell them about a service that you've got going on. Tell them if there is any type of discounts or bonuses that you've got. Tell them if you think that they would be a really good fit. And always remember to tell your client how much you'd love to work with them, because they will really appreciate that. If they're looking at buying a coaching program or buying a product, whatever that product might be, the probability is you are not the only person they are looking at. So just remember to tell them how you would love to work with them, because if everything comes down equal, and often price is not an issue why people work with you. I know we often think it is, but it's not. But if they think, crumbs, this person really cares about me, then they're going to pick you every single time. So I hope that's answered that question. I've got some more questions here. I've got 4 in total. Made sure that I got myself planned. Anyone who knows me knows how much I love planning. So I'm just going to put some notes here on this question to help you. All right. Oh, now I've gone myself. Hold on. That's it. I'm back. When I come out of my own process, look what happens. Okay. So the next question that I've got is, how can I gain more confidence? Okay, let me stop messing around with everything. How can I gain more confidence to talk about myself and my business? So confidence is what we project and what others see, not necessarily what we're feeling inside. We might be feeling super scary inside, and we might be like that duck or that swan with our legs paddling underneath the water, but we look serene and calm to the outside. So what I would suggest is, first of all, check in with yourself. You know, we always want to remember, is this a story that we're telling ourselves? Why do we think we're not confident? Where has that come from? And always ask a good friend for their opinion and to give you some feedback to help. Now, if you want to start talking about yourself, so one part of it is what's going on inside. How am I feeling? It's what I would call a mindset issue. Okay. And do you know what? We've all been there. I remember years ago when I started my business, it was in the 2nd year of my business. And I had to say to myself, right, if I want to take my business to the next level, I'm going to have to start speaking publicly. And I can tell you, I hate speaking publicly. Nobody would probably believe it. I am really comfortable doing it on Zoom, but I absolutely hate standing up in public. And that is why I run events. It is to force me to stand up in public and talk, because if I could get away with it, I would. So that's the reason why. Susan is saying the same here. Yeah, you know, put me in a group and I can talk, especially if I'm sitting down. not a problem. Stand me up in front of a whole group of people and I really, really get nervous. So I decided that I was going to run events. Now, looking back, it was a baptism of fire. I could have done something a lot more sensible, like stand up at a networking group and do 10 minutes. But no, I thought I'd run a whole event where I was talking all day. And I can tell you, I was ill 2 weeks up to the event. And once I'd done the event, I was 2 weeks ill after it. I was just so nervous. And I knew every single slide, and there were over 100. I knew it. I just learned it off heart. Right? I wouldn't recommend that to anyone, but I can definitely say so. But the more you do it, the more confident you get, the more you realize that people are incredibly kind and forgiving. And if you say the wrong thing or say something that's not right, they will forgive you. And they can tell when you turn up with like a good heart. So there's something that goes on inside. And I'm not saying I would recommend anyone do what I do, where I sort of like did the baptism of fire. But you could break yourself in a bit more gently. So, but now we've got the practical side. So how do you talk about yourself if you don't have that confidence or you don't feel confident? Obviously, key is preparation to talk about yourself. So even if you're doing something like a 60-second pitch for a networking group that you're going to, and you're going to stand up, or maybe you sit down. Whenever I run a networking group, yes, Emily is saying that practice really helps, and experience that it's okay to stumble or to make little mistakes. Absolutely. I mean, you know, even today I will make mistakes, but you know, I'm just so used to it now. I just carry on. So, so let's say if you're doing 60 seconds, a lot of networking groups, they're absolutely fine with you standing up and reading from a piece of paper. Always, always practice your talk, or whether it's 60 seconds or say a 10-minute talk. But just know one thing. The funny thing is, when you stand up to speak publicly, you actually slow down. When you're practicing by yourself in your home, you speed up. So just take that into consideration. So that's if you're doing something publicly, practice. If you're doing a video, like say you wanted to get into video, and that can be pretty daunting. Again, when I started mine, just create your own Facebook group and go live into the Facebook group. And just see what it's like. And maybe invite a good friend or your coach in to give you some feedback. You could also try doing role play with a business bestie where, you know, they're your audience and you're going to go live and do a video. Or maybe they're your audience for standing up and doing your 60 seconds or your 10-minute or 20-minute or 30-minute presentation, whatever that might be. And you obviously reciprocate. Testimonials where other people are talking about you is a great way for somebody to talk about your business. And a third party has got so much weight compared to you speaking about it. I mean, I can tell you how some things are really great in my business, but it is much better if it comes from a third party. It's, you know, because they're actually talking about their experience of it. So get testimonials. That's a great way. You can get them in written form. And if they can do a video testimonial, even better. Then you don't even have to show up and talk about it. You do have to do a nice little post if it's just a static written testimonial. It's also okay to say that you're nervous. So when I got on here today, what you don't know is I tried to come in Zoom and it said, no, there's an error message and you're not getting in. I thought, oh my gosh. At the moment, I'm running the Inspire Summit. And I've been helping people who have had difficulties going on Zoom, because I've been using Zoom for years. So I've been helping them to get in where they've needed it, and with their sort of like getting their slides up and running. And today when I came in, yeah, it crashed. I had to pull everything down. And I thought, what's my backup here? And I'm looking at my phone and I'm thinking, oh gosh, I'm going to have to go on my phone. And I much prefer going on my laptop, on Zoom, going through that way. But it happens to all of us. So was I nervous when I first got on here? Yes, I was. Now I don't feel so nervous, because I'm also looking at the people who are on here and they're smiling at me and I'm feeling good. So I think, oh yeah, okay, this is going okay now. Always learn from others. So observation, reading, TED Talks. You may wish to invest in some online or offline courses. I mean, my friend Debbie Gilbert runs a really good course. I don't actually know if she runs it anymore, all around networking, how you can turn up and be really effective networking. So make sure that, you know, you're learning from others, just even by observation is really, really helpful. The sixth one on my notes here is to be kind to yourself. I mean, really, really be kind. Over time, you will get better. You will feel better about talking about yourself. And as you improve in talking about yourself, actually your business will also improve as well. And when you have gone live and you've talked about yourself, or you've stood up and done 60 seconds, or maybe it was a 10-minute at a networking group where you had to talk about your business, celebrate your success. You know, I know Ilse Whiteman always says, give yourself a high five, celebrate in some way so that you feel really good that you've just accomplished something, because then the next time you're making your brain remember the good experience. Because what we've got to remember is that our brain tries to protect ourselves. So when our brain thinks that something is going to happen and we get rejected, and this happens in sales, but it also can happen when you stand up to speak about yourself, your brain wants to protect yourself because it uses the same neural pathways that it uses when we experience pain. So rejection and pain use the same neural pathways. And that's why if we think we're going to get rejected, when we stand up to talk about ourselves or our business, our brain is trying to protect ourselves. So just recognize that. And sometimes you just have to have a really good talking to yourself and saying, this is going to be okay. Nothing is happening to me. I am safe. People are going to really enjoy what I've got to say. Okay, so that is our second question. We've got two more to go, so I hope you're all enjoying this and you're getting a lot from it. Let me just get that behind the sound. That's good. So a question that I got, which I always like talking about, is, do I need an email list to make sales? Well, I'm going to tell you the real honest truth here. No, you actually don't. You can make sales without an email list. When I started, I did not, probably all of us when we started, I did not have an email list. But what I did have was I was already on LinkedIn. And when I started my business, the one thing I did was I wrote to all my the past people I'd worked with that I knew had moved on. And I told them I was working for myself and this is what I was doing. And everybody else I knew, I told them I was working for myself. And I left my corporate job on the Tuesday, and on the Wednesday, I had my first client booked. And that was all because in that lead up, I was just telling everybody that I was going to be starting up my own business. So I did not have an email list at all. And in fact, I had no idea where to go networking. And I was desperately trying to find networks. I don't know why I couldn't find them. It's not like I didn't type it into Google at all. So no, you don't need an email list to get sales. You can definitely get them without an email list. But here are a few things, okay? If you want to continue to sell, then you do need an email list. People often say the money is in the list. That's not really true. The money in your list is when people open your emails and click on your links. So if you don't have an email list, I would really recommend you get one, because the amount of clients that I have sold to within minutes of my email list going out, my email going out, that I just thought, oh, I would never have got that client. You know, this is a client I knew from ages ago. They worked with me. They finished that program. They then moved away, but they were on my email list. I've just brought out this new program. They've immediately signed up. That's what happens when you've got an email list. However, if you've got an email list and you don't write to them and you don't nurture that relationship, it's just as bad as not having an email list. Okay, so, and this is the reason why. In the coaching industry, on average, 20 to 25%, you'll get an open rate of 20 to 25%. Now, there are people who get, what's your recommended nurturing sequence? Oh, great question. I will go through that. Emily, I hope I'm saying your name correctly as well, by the way, but please correct me if I'm not. Maybe once we've come off and I've stopped recording, then tell me I've said it wrong. So I will talk about nurturing your email list. I think I might have that in this one as well. So let me just give you a little stat. So the industry says that if you're a coach, and it could be slightly different whether you're selling products or a different type of service, your emails will be open between 20 and 25%. Okay, well, let's say you've got 1,000 people on your email list, but you're only writing once a month. It's going to take 4 to 5 months before everybody on your email list has opened it. Whereas if you send out an email every week, it's just going to take you 4 to 5 weeks for your list to open your email account, your email. Now, if you've got a smaller list than 1,000, you'll probably find that your open rate is much higher than that. And there are people that have a much, much bigger open rate, and that is fantastic. It really is. This is average. This is what the average is. So if you have an email list, make sure that you're actually writing out and nurturing your clients. So you need an email management system. You can have MailerLite, which I've heard is very good, but I've never used. MailChimp, which I have used and found it really confusing. And ConvertKit, which I now use, which is good. It is a bit expensive, only because my emails have gone up into another level. They've really hit me with the fee. And there is another one as well. I think it begins with A, but I've forgotten what it's called. What you always want to do in all of your emails is make sure there is an active campaign. Thank you, Emily. Please come to these every time. So in case I forget, you can step forward with a little note to help me. Yes, it's active campaign. And I've also heard that's very, very good as well. What you definitely want on all your emails is a call to action. Now, that call to action might be, I'm running a vision board workshop. Please come along that day. That can be a call to action. I'm running an event. I've got this program. Please sign up to it. That can be a call to action. But a call to action can also be, please come and like my Facebook page. Please come and like my YouTube channel. So if you don't have anything to sell right now, and if you're one of my clients, I'm always getting you to sell every day. But if you're not selling right now, just think about other call to actions, because the more you ask your clients, the more you train them that when they get an email from you, you're going to ask them to do something to support you. You've given them great value in your email. And now you're going to ask them for a little bit of support. And that just might be, please come over and join my Facebook group. Please come over and like my YouTube channel. So it could be that simple, but you get used to asking and they also get used to you asking. So then when you go and ask them to join your program, they don't get upset in any way because they're so used to you asking. Now, there is a cutoff point as to how much somebody will spend with you direct from an email. So, and again, it depends on a number of things. Depends how big your list is, depends on how well known you are in the marketplace. So if we look at somebody like Marie Forleo, for example, she will sell her B-School program, which is, I think, around $2,000 from an email, from a video, and people sign up and buy, and she's made millions. But we don't have her positioning in the market. And her email list, it is going to be hundreds of thousands of people on her email list. So what we've got to do is we've got to say to ourselves, okay, if somebody is selling something for £1,000, the probability is they're going to want to have a conversation with you first before they decide to buy it. If you've got something for about £50, they'll buy it from your email. If you've got something for just under 100, say 97 pounds, euros or dollars, they'll buy from you. If you've got something for 200 or 300, they will also buy, and you can probably go up to just under 500 euros, $500, 500 pounds. But once you go over that, they're going to want to have a conversation with you. Okay. So we were asked about, so that's it really around the email list. So do you need an email list to make sales? No, you don't, but you do need to reach out to people to have conversations. If you don't reach out and have conversations, then it's going to be pretty difficult for you to actually get sales. Can you sell from social media? Absolutely. I teach people how to do that. I was in Coach Fest and I did a training around that on how you can do it. But again, depending on how well you're known in the market, how many people you're connected to and following, and how often you're turning up and being consistent will dictate as to how much people will buy from you and how often. But you can definitely do it. Would I recommend you have an email list? Absolutely. Absolutely. And once you get that email list and you get it going, you will be so thankful because people will buy from you. So Emily was asking about a nurture sequence. So there are several nurture sequences that you can have. So for example, let's say you create a lead magnet, and when you create a lead magnet, always think about where do you want the client to go next. So you might create a lead magnet because you want to get people signed up onto your email list, because eventually you want to sell them onto a program. And that program may be coming out in 3 months' time. Okay, so you've just always got to think about where it's traveling to. Now, if it's purely a lead magnet to build your email list, what you want to put in place is what I call the 3-month get to know me email sequence. And this is where you write these emails in advance. And the first email, you're going to welcome them. You're going to tell them a little bit about yourself. The second email, you might give them a case study, but it's plotted out. Now, unfortunately, I can't go through this with you at the moment because I need to look at my actual planner to go through that. But I have a membership and that's in there. So if you're interested in membership, just have a look in the comments and I'll put it in there. There's a great deal on it at the moment and people really enjoy the membership. So there is, what I have is a 90-day get to know you. And the great thing is it will talk about you as a person and what your purpose is and what you believe and why you do what you do and how you help and support your clients. But it will also talk about what are their challenges and what are some of the challenges your clients face. And you'll be giving them lots of really good nuggets of wisdom there. And the whole idea is that they get an email every single week for 3 months, 90 days, 3 months, and then they'll go onto your regular mailing list. So that's one way that you can do it. And of course, what you're doing in those 90 days is you know that they're getting closer to you. Then what you can do is you can have emails which are like a 7-day email or a 5-day email. So here is my lead magnet. So a lead magnet could be a PDF, it could be a video series, could be a webinar. And after that, you're going to send them out 5 emails, and that's going to lead to a sale at the end of it. So when I do my webinars, my free webinars, I will then send people emails with encouraging them to sign up to something. So again, I've got it all planned out in my group. If anybody is interested, I do have a special offer on at the moment. It's like £35 a month. You can just go in there for a month and you can cancel anytime and you can get all of that. It's a little bit hard for me to say off the top of my head. I hope that answers your question, Emily. Maybe when we come off air, you might specifically ask me about some of those nurture sequences for you. So let's have a look now at our final question. And I'm just going to have a look at the people in the Facebook group to see if we've got any questions. And just to remind you, if you're watching this on the replay, just say #replay and I'll answer your question. Okay, so the last question I've got is, how can I sell my management membership to SMEs? Okay, so the first thing we've got to remember about selling memberships is it's not a sprint, it's a marathon. So you've sort of like got to get yourself into that frame of mind of, this is probably going to take me a year to 18 months to get where I really want to get to. Now, the fact that we just talked about email lists and do we actually need one or not? When you do a membership, I absolutely believe you do need an email list to sell effectively from the word go your membership. And here's the thing, you probably need round about 2,000 people on your membership. And if you've got round about 2,000 people on your membership, you'll get something like 50 to 100 people signing up. So that's the type of numbers that you need. So I just wanted to share that with you first of all. So as I was saying, to make what you want to do when you're selling a membership, and we're focusing on SMEs here, is you want to make sure that you're talking to the SMEs. You want to find out, is a membership what they want? Because you see, the thing is with SMEs, and I've got a couple of friends who run very profitable SMEs, they're so busy, they would never join a membership. They would join a membership if it was a networking event where they met up every so often and they had dinner with people, that they would do because it's in the evening. But going online, it's got to have some real weight behind it to make them do that. Because the thing is with SMEs is they're quite small and they're very, very big. And they really think about how they're going to use their time. So first thing you want to do is make sure you talk to some of those SMEs to make sure you find out, you know, what exactly do they want in it? How often do they want to have information coming into that membership? You also want to test it out. So let's say you talk to a handful of SMEs and you know what their pain points are, you know what they want to see in it. The next step would be to test it out. So create some content, run a free webinar, which I would always call a masterclass, see what the take-up is. Then run a paid for masterclass webinar, and again, see what the take-up is. And you want to run it at the times that those SMEs would be watching it. So if they're SMEs who are MDs or, directors of those SMEs, what's the best time of day? Is it in the evening? Is it early in the morning? Is it lunchtime? You need to work it around that. And to actually promote your webinar, which is going off on a little tangent, you need to promote it for a good 2 weeks. And that needs to be your single message that is going out to sign up to this webinar. Otherwise, you'll get very few people signing up. And the reason why I've gone off on that tangent is because I am running a masterclass on the 12th of September around how to sell effectively from a webinar. As I said, I always call them masterclasses. So again, if you're interested in that, there'll be some details on that. So again, ask yourself, do you know how to sell effectively from a webinar if you want people to sign up to your membership site? Ask yourself that, because if you don't, then what you want to do is find out what those gaps are, identify what those gaps are, and then find out how you can actually close those gaps. If you've already got the membership going, as I said, this is a marathon, not a sprint. You want to go back to the people in the membership and get some testimonials from them. Do some video interviews with them so that you can actually use that as part of your promotion. Then with the people in it, think about, can you create a referral program? Now, it's a little bit hard for SMEs because they're probably not going to go to other SMEs. But if you're a coach and you've got other people in it, I'm just trying to think, if you're a career coach and you've got people in it, say from the corporate or business world, who are looking to climb up their, expand their career, climb up the corporate ladder, then they might be able to bring other people in. So you might want to consider a referral program. The two things that people want in a membership is they want value. So they want those pain points answered. That's why you need to do the research previously, and you need to make sure that you are speaking to them, finding out what their pain points are. And what they also want is to build a community. They want to feel supported. So if you were just selling to MDs in SMEs, you need to find out what type of membership they really want. And it actually might not be something online, it might be offline. But if you haven't found that information out first, it's going to be very difficult for you to create a membership that's going to work. And you need to, there's a lot of planning that goes into a membership as well. And you need to give yourself some parameters around what looks good, what would be better, and what's best, so that you can say, okay, this is working. And sometimes what you have to do is take a step back and say, okay, I've tried this membership, it's just not working. Do I need to lower the price? Do I need to position it differently? Do I actually need to increase the price? Because I'll get a completely different type of person coming once they realize what the price is. Okay, so that's the questions that I got asked in advance. Let's just have a look to see what's here. Nicola is saying, I think the biggest hurdle is getting the participants to find the time to do the learning and to see value of it. So that would be for the membership question. Yes, so what you want to do is you want to do more things like live. So the thing is, in a membership, what often happens is we release things every month. So what you've got to do is you've got to say to people way in advance, because their diaries will get booked, I've got this specialist coming in to talk about X in 3 months' time. Here's the date, put it into your diary. And you have to do that at a time that works for those people. So it's all about pre-planning and getting into their diary. When I used to be in the corporate world and I did a lot of events, because we didn't have the online stuff then, I would get dinners full of CEOs from like the FTSE 250. I would do dinners or breakfasts because they, lunch, yeah, I could get HRDs, but mainly I had FDs, CEOs, chairman, either at lunch or dinner, because that's the time that they were operating. So you just need to understand your market really well, and you've got to work around their parameters. Okay, so that comes us to the end of our live. I'm going to stop the live stream now, but everybody else who's here, we can stay on and we will just see if you've got any questions at all.